everyone. Welcome to UEDA Rally Day. I'm Julia Potter, and I'm the president of UEDA and director of Educational Partnerships Development and Special University Projects at California State University, Northridge. So before we really dive into Rally Day today, let's go over just a few housekeeping tips for us. Today's session is being recorded and it's going to be archived on UEDA's YouTube channel. We're also streaming today's session live on Facebook today. If you have any questions during this time together, particularly during our keynote speaker presentation, please share those questions in the Zoom chat window. Or if you're watching us on Facebook, on the Facebook comment section. Also, during today's gathering, we're going to have a business meeting. We're going to have the UEDA annual meeting. So as we put forward motions, we're going to ask for a vote. So please use the thumbs up reaction section on your Zoom bar if you are voting affirmatively. If you oppose the motion, then please type the word oppose into the chat. And that's how we will take care of voting today. So now you know that under normal circumstances, our annual summit concludes with a fabulous awards banquet where we come together in a beautiful ballroom and we celebrate the achievements of all of the Awards of Excellence finalists. Well, we're meeting today virtually. It is a little different, but we are together and that's the most important thing. So today's Rally Day is our celebratory day. This is the day that we've come together to really champion our work collectively and individually. So with that, we have a really great lineup today, and here's what we have in store. First, during our opening keynote session, we're going to explore higher ed's image problems, myth, reality, and possible solutions. And we're going to do that with our keynote speaker, Doug Letterman. After the presentation and Q&A, we're going to conduct brief association business during our annual meeting. And lastly, we're then going to celebrate the outstanding work being done by our Awards of Excellence finalists as we announce the winners selected by the participants who attended our digital summit. So let's get started. It is indeed my honor and my great pleasure to introduce Doug Letterman. Doug is the editor and co-founder of Inside Higher Ed. Doug, thank you so much for joining us today on this very special day for UEDA. And with that, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I'm sorry we're not all together and that you're not eating a nice lunch while I talk. I hope you're nibbling on something. I really a pleasure to be here. I want to thank Julia and Tim and others for inviting me to be here. And again, I wish we were together someday. It's the world we're all in. So we're all figuring it out together. So what I'm gonna try to do today is kind of pull back the frame. Let me start there first. Normally I know you've been talking and meeting and about a lot of the issues that you care about. And I'm not here because I know a whole lot about economic development and the issues that you explore. I dabble in a lot of issues, but what people tend to ask me to speak about, and that's what I'm going to try and do here, is to pull back the lens a little bit. To offer some context about the national higher ed landscape that your institutions operate, hopefully to provide you with some additional insights about the environment in which you do your individual work. We all, in our day-to-day work, have a tendency, understandable, to sort of have our heads down and deal with the issues at hand, and that's what our jobs are. But it's hopefully helpful now and then to sort of be reminded of the larger whole. And you in the work that you do probably pay more attention to it than some of your colleagues because you're out in your larger communities, and you're working with a lot of external constituents. But hopefully I have some, I can shed some light on some things that are happening around your institutions, and in ways that provide you with some helpful stuff. So what I'm going to really do today is focus on how the higher education industry is viewed by its various constituents and publics, and why that's so, the implications of that situation, and what colleges and universities might do to ensure that the important work they do is supported. So with that, basically where I want to start is by talking about kind of where higher education historically is. And in general, over time, higher education has been in a very, very good place in terms of its public perception, image, etc. American colleges and universities are some of the oldest and best known institutions in our country, and they have some of the most recognizable brands in the world. After Coca-Cola and probably now Amazon, are there many places better known than Harvard? US is widely considered to have the best higher education offerings in the world, and it's considered one of the United States' biggest assets. The other reasons why sort of higher education has historically enjoyed very positive public support at the sort of local and at the individual and national level is because the sort of broad constellation of more than 3,000 public land grant and regional universities, independent colleges, and community colleges have educated many millions of Americans, and have a tradition of producing much of the country's knowledge base, knowledge and information, and that feeds the economy. It feeds our the way we learn. It feeds all sorts of things. The institutions are anchors of their communities. They're drivers of economic activity, sometimes the largest employer, and frequently a center of social, cultural, and religious activity. All of those traits together have made colleges and universities individually, and higher education collectively, a really cherished American institution. The problem is that almost every American institution has, in the last, pick your time frame, 10, 20 years, really started to see pretty standard declines across the board in public perception. If you, there are Pew and Gallup and others do sort of annual surveys of public perception of different institutions in our country. And the media has taken a big hit. Congress is probably at the lowest ebb it's been, and it's been, pretty steep decline. Higher education held out for a long time. And there are good, again, the reasons why I think we just largely covered were some of the reasons why higher ed has sustained it. But like most American institutions, public skepticism has built over time. We saw a big negative shift in public attitudes about higher ed in the last half of the 2010s. You'll see in the data below some of what we saw, and a lot of it is reflected. This is from Pew's, sort of one of Pew's regular studies, and there was basically in about 2015, it was 2017 was the year that really things kind of flipped, and you can attribute that. It's pretty easy to attribute that to sort of the increasing political polarization, and indeed, as you see from these data, and hopefully you can read those numbers. I won't go into details, but there was a pretty big divide between Republicans and Democrats. Much of the sort of dip or the decline was driven by Republican skepticism about about higher education. And obviously that sort of division, and the morning after a remarkable debate last night, made clear the deep divides in our politic right now. But so some of it can be reflected in that. But there are some underlying issues as well, and some significant concerns that cross party lines. And I'll get to those on this slide. More Americans than not say higher ed is going in the wrong direction, regardless of political affiliation. You can see that in this graph on this table on the left, this graphic on the left. And while they emphasize differing reasons for saying so, with Democrats generally focusing on economic and equity concerns, and Republicans focusing on philosophical and cultural ones, the overall effect is to raise significant questions about the performance of colleges and universities collectively. Again, on the right-hand side, while those show the gaps, you see both groups of both parties and believing tuition costs are too high. Majorities of both parties believing that students are not getting the skills they need to succeed in the workplace. You get more division on the sort of more philosophical stuff that's that the Republicans tend to worry about, and the Democrats less so. But again, on some pretty core issues, are we paying too much, and are students getting what they need? Agreement more than disagreement. And so excuse me, next I want to talk about sort of what some of those common critiques are. Again, you can all read, so I'm not going to run through them. But if I were going to, as you look at those, I suspect most of you would be able to come up with some reasons why these things aren't true. And there is no doubt that there is a mixed bag here in terms of the extent to which these are reality versus myth. But I think if you're being honest with yourselves, I'd challenge you to say you don't see some truth to most of them too. So I could pick just about any one of these, and let's talk about inequitable access to high quality education. And I think you could argue either side of that case. The idea of widespread access for citizens to higher education, excuse me, has been more central in the United States than just about any other country. For the last 80 years, since the GI Bill and the Higher Education Act, most Americans who want higher education have a path to getting it. And that's not true in a lot of other places where decisions are made much earlier and you tend to be locked in. There is opportunity here for people, and other countries are increasingly sort of following that gap. So you can certainly, following that model. But it is still true for all the perception and higher education likes to talk about, as an industry likes to talk about the access mission. It's still true that people from the highest income bracket are far likelier to earn a 4-year degree than are those from the lowest. It's 4 to 5 times likelier. And in the era of Black Lives Matter, the differing college going and completion rates of people of color remains a point of significant contention and concern. So I think while there is widespread opportunity, there are clearly differences in the extent to which Americans are able, of different races, of different socioeconomic backgrounds, all sorts of different factors, are able to take advantage of it and to gain what they really want, which is a credential. While I tend to believe that professors are not choose another one of these, the sort of inhospitality to free speech, and while I tend to believe that professors are not regularly imposing their political views on their students to try to turn them into liberals, as you'd think from listening to some of our politicians, every few weeks a video circulates of a professor doing just that. And so it's impossible to argue that it doesn't happen. And so there are certain of these instances where anecdote and perception become reality. And so again, I'm not suggesting that all these things are true, but I think it's also true that I think it's true that there's enough truth for them to become problems. And there are ways in which perception becomes reality. So I think with all these critiques, I would say there's a mix of truth and either exaggeration or misunderstanding. And so that kind of leads to the question of what's to be done about it. There are some people in higher education who focus on the former of these two, this dichotomy I'm posing on this slide, suggesting that the main thing colleges and universities need to do is to tell their story better. Others focus more on the ways institutions need to change to address the issues and concerns that underlie these perceptions. So which is it? I probably won't surprise you that I choose the both. Both and is usually the right answer to any complex problem. So I guess what I would say, about where we are here is there is certainly a need for colleges and universities and colleges individually and higher education collectively to do a better job explaining to their constituents, be they students and families, local and national politicians, alumni, community leaders, taxpayers, what they do and how effectively they do it. And I think we would all agree that higher education does a great deal very effectively. And it's a problem that poor understanding in the general public, there is poor understanding in the general public about many aspects of higher education. And there are perceptions and misperceptions that are formed based on flawed information. Price and debt are prime examples. When a lot of Americans think about the price of college, they think of the relative handful compared to the entirety of the 3,000 plus institutions that charge $60,000 or more in tuition, and they assume that most students pay the sticker price when in fact the average person pays half of that. And there's a pretty compelling case to be made in support of the value and contribution of higher education to individuals and society. And I think there's no question that colleges and college leaders and individually and higher education officials and leaders nationally, there's a much better job that can be done about making that case. But it's also true, and I think we'd be remiss in not acknowledging it, that higher education has some significant problems and that meaningful change is needed both at many individual institutions and systemically to address some of those challenges. To me, the big challenge facing colleges and universities and higher ed leaders, as I see it, is that higher education is not well positioned to operate in the era of evidence that I believe we are now in and are going to stay in. The pressure that virtually every industry has faced of a demand for evidence and proof of quality and efficacy and performance came kind of late to higher education. It came later to higher education than it did to other industries, but it's here. And there are a variety of reasons, I think, why colleges have been sort of slow to respond to it. They're decentralized. They haven't historically been held accountable in this way, and they kind of bristle at it. There's been a widespread assumption for a long time that going to college is just a good, a sort of an unequivocal good, and that people emerge better having gotten it. And it's certainly something I tend to believe. And the other problems, I think, are that much of what colleges do is hard to measure, particularly in terms of student learning, the sort of core function. And the higher education as an ecosystem has been kind of slow to develop and adopt tools for gauging when and how much students learn. So it's kind of like it's hard when your sort of core promise, which is that we're going to help you go from here to here in ways that help you in your career and your life, is difficult to capture. In addition, the colleges and universities that are typically viewed as the leaders in higher education, which are sort of selective and wealthy private and public colleges, the most visible institutions. They're the ones that people know, and they historically have been the ones that people follow. They have had the least incentive to develop a system that might measure educational quality, in part because they are the winners in the current setup in which the public equates quality with prestige. If people think that a Ivy League degree is better than one from a regional public college or a small private institution that people haven't heard of, it's not really in Harvard's or Yale's or Princeton's interest to figure out how to measure and prove that students are learning. So collectively, to me, those factors result in complacency and our resistance to change. And that was one of the, if you remember, that was on the list of critiques I had a few slides back. And to me, it is arguably the biggest problem higher ed confronts, especially in the face of growing competition from alternative providers of education and training, which we are seeing emerge everywhere you turn. Big companies are educating their own, increasingly sort of feeling like they can educate their own workforces and not necessarily needing to depend on colleges and universities. That's not wide scale yet. Sorry, excuse me. But I think there is no question that some of the pressure on higher education is coming from innovations outside it that make it easier to compete with traditional higher education. And one of the upsides, one of the downsides of technology, if you're an incumbent, as traditional colleges and universities are, is that the barriers to entry get lower, and we see lots of places trying to be seen as providers of post-secondary education in some fashion. So I guess what I want to do on this next slide is try to sort of, what's the answer here? And again, there is no one single answer, and I would be remiss in trying to pretend that there was. But the path I view as the most fruitful one, it's about colleges, first individually and ideally collectively to the extent possible, asking hard questions of themselves about what their mission is, or more likely what their missions are, plural, based as much as possible on what their students, employees, and other constituents need today. Again, this critique, one of these critiques of higher education is that colleges are, that you walk into a classroom and it's no different from how it was 50 years ago, maybe even 300 years ago in Germany or in the early days of American institutions. I actually think that's not true. And like I said, I think that's one of the many oversimplifications and sort of myths that we're facing here. But it is true that a lot of institutions have continued to have clung to their historical missions and haven't necessarily updated them as much as might be wise, and haven't updated how they carry out those missions. So part of it is really open-eyed, clear-eyed look at sort of what is it that we really exist to do. That's followed by a very clear-eyed look at how effectively institutions are achieving that mission and those objectives, to the extent possible, using data or other kinds of evidence to show that they are hitting the marks, or pointing out to them where they're falling short. So this is, and then obviously there's the point about communication, but there's a lot this is this is not an easy job, and I don't minimize the significance of it and the lift that's involved. But, and I've talked to a lot of institutional leaders who seem afraid to acknowledge that anything at their institution is less than perfect, for fear that the information will be used against them, either by legislators or by their faculties but to me right now, the prevailing assumption among many people is that something is wrong, that higher education is underperforming. And failure to acknowledge problems is a greater problem than admitting that there's progress to be made. I believe we have a pretty forgiving public, and that the historical well of support that we talked about at the beginning, that most people have for their own institution, especially, but also for higher education in general, is strong enough to withstand some acknowledgement of imperfection. And I think the upside of figuring out how a particular college can better fulfill its mission, whether that's by making the experience better and more successful for its current students, making its education and services available to more students or to different groups of them, involving students they haven't historically reached, or finding ways to more effectively serve their local communities, by definition will be good for the college, beyond any messaging or marketing that we might be worried about. So the bottom line for me is that I believe higher education does more good than many in the public seem to believe right now. But I also think there's a lot of room for improvement, and some meaningful threat that, if not responded to, could result in some real pain to the industry, in terms of people, greater numbers of people in the public deciding that they either don't need a higher education at all, or that to the extent they need post-high school education and training, which again, all the data point to the need for that, that there may be better ways to get that. And so I think it's really sort of incumbent from both very much a self-interested standpoint, but also I think, again, America needs higher education to be effective. And I think it's increasingly incumbent on institutions and their leaders to sort of acknowledge the ways in which they could be better and to get there. And I think the messaging will follow. Again, I think there's already a good case, and a lot of institutions are out there making it. But I think sort of, to me, institutions are better off if they are focused on getting better, and then the ways of explaining that to the public and to their constituents pretty naturally follows. So again, I'm not suggesting this is an easy thing to do, but I really do believe that it's the sort of a challenge that needs to be taken up. And again, I don't want to underestimate the extent to which there are institutions, colleges, and universities doing this. And I very much believe that institutions are, in general, trying to get better. But I think to me, it's this knitting together of a real serious look at sort of what it is that we want to be, can afford to be. I think it's important to recognize that for many colleges and universities, this is going to be a period of constrained resources, and we can talk about that and other things in the Q&A that we'll get to shortly. But I do think that institutions may end up having to be choosier about what they do, and to focus their missions more sharply on a certain set of things. And then, again, those other steps are, what is it that our people need from us now, and are we fulfilling it? And again, this accumulation of evidence is challenging, and I have some sort of thoughts about sort of what that might look like, and how some of the ways in which colleges might be judged. But the other reality is that we are there are many people out there who are standing at the ready to judge higher education externally, and left to them, leaving the decisions about how colleges are judged to people who don't know very much, which is often who gets to decide, is really threatening and dangerous. And that's part of why I sort of want this to be done internally. I think people from within the enterprise have a better chance of gauging realistically and thoughtfully about what it is that institutions should be doing and how they should be judged. If it's left to the politicians in Washington or in your state capitals, I think all bets are off. So I'm going to stop there. I want to leave as much time as possible for your questions to try and make this as much a conversation as possible. And hope we can chat. So turn it back to you, Julia, I guess, or.
Yes, Doug, thank you so much. What an important conversation you have sparked in this morning meeting. Thank you very much. There are a lot of questions in the chat that I'll go to, but if I may, I would actually just like to start with the COVID question. As we are facing these extraordinary resource issues, and also, there's a huge social justice component here as well. I wonder if we could just start there, and then I will go to the chat. So
sure.
Please do put your questions in chat.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, listen, just about every presentation I give, and I didn't do it as clearly in this one as I do in a lot of them, but sort of almost has to start with COVID. And I because COVID, and the tricky thing is that we don't really know everything yet about how COVID will affect COVID and the recession. I mean, we wrote recently about sort of the not just the twin pandemics of the recession, of the COVID and the recession, but when you throw in the sort of racial justice movement, there's so much going on right now. And the impact of COVID, especially given how sort of open-ended it remains. But it's impossible for this not to have pretty dramatically reshaped everything in our lives, but this enterprise that we all care deeply about, higher education. Again, without knowing exactly how all the ways how it will have reshaped it, there are things we know. I mean, the damage to the economy is significant, and so every institution, public and private, will have seen the vast majority of its revenue sources hit in some way. And again, how that's true is going to differ from institution to institution. Places with big endowments have probably done better than some others in certain ways, but have seen, so again, there's a set of institutions here, and everyone is a little different, but no question that revenue is hurt, and the state institutions, we don't know what the budgets are going to look like next year when legislatures reconvene, but we know that tax revenues have been deeply hit in just about every state, so there's going to be budget impact there. So and then there's think about, we don't fully know the health impact on our students and our staffs, and we don't know the mental health impact on them. And our communities, the local towns that are, so this is but I think and that's part of why, again, I think a sort of an assessment of mission now more than ever makes sense, because I could see arguments that some institutions' missions will have changed pretty significantly because of COVID and the recession. Again, how exactly is going to vary, but I don't think any of us can underestimate the impact of this on our institutions and our institutions' abilities to what our communities need from our institutions, and how they're going to operate. And I've never been accused of being Pollyannish, but I do believe there are some real possible silver linings here in terms of this compelling some changes that have been hard to make happen politically at institutions, embraces of certain kinds of technology, possible changes in how colleges use their workforces, and more embrace of remote work that could free certain kinds of things up. So again, the exact how is unclear, but I think it's enough of a shakeup that I think any institution that's not sort of reassessing where it stands and what its place is probably making a mistake.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that definitely is going to be an ongoing conversation for us. So I want to refer a few questions in the chat, and then I still have several of
Please,
my
yeah.
own too. But let me start with John Provo. He actually made a comment here. Let me find you, John, that the issues with higher education could also be described as challenges in society writ large. Is that larger context, the societal context, a drag on our ability to address the issues that we're discussing right now? Is it a larger lift because we need to look at solutions and partners in completely different ways now?
Well, certainly. And I mean, one of the reasons I've so enjoyed covering higher education for 30, I don't like to say the number, for a lot of years, is because of the extent to which colleges and universities are sort of incubators or test tubes of larger societal issues. Many societal issues, if they don't necessarily unfold first in higher education, they tend to unfold more sharply and more acutely in certain ways. And ideally, historically, sometimes more gently and more thoughtfully. Not always the case, but there's opportunity because higher education is sort of built on understanding and a willingness to engage ideas, et cetera. Certain social movements get a more sensitive and supportive hearing within the boundaries of college and universities than they do in larger society. So I think it's reasonable to say there are clearly, listen, the socioeconomic inequity in our society doesn't begin at the walls of colleges. I think that that's just one, nor does the racial issues. The way I guess I would tend to think about it is that, and I think this is where I would focus on issues like that, is that colleges and universities have historically purported, and higher education as an ecosystem, have purported to be engines of economic equality and to sort of undo some of the existing inequity. And I think the big question to me is whether that's true, or as true as the myth would have it, and I fear that higher education isn't the driver of socioeconomic equity that a lot of people have wanted to be and hope it will be. And all you have, if you pay attention at all to, I don't know how many of you spent time with the data that I forget what it's being called now, but the Raj Chetty and his fellow researchers produced a bunch of data 4 years ago that got a lot of play in the public press about the sort of socioeconomic inequity within higher education and the extent to which institutions, actually, Julia, the Cal State institutions were among the drivers of it looked at the proportion of people who started out in the lower socioeconomic classes and moved, and the institutions that really did the heavy lifting on that were some of the Cal State institutions, some of the CUNY institutions in New York, but higher education as a whole didn't look so great on that sort of moving people up ladder. And so I think that's where I would tend to focus. But certainly, John, I would not suggest that higher education is alone in trying to fix these problems. And certainly it is saddled with all sorts of inequities that come from K-12 and other things. But so again, there's only so much higher education can do, but I guess it's where I would tend to focus is on making sure that we aren't continuing and worse, and even worsening in some cases, existing problems.
Great, thank you very much. So to just build a bit on your conversation about the ability to tell our story better, that perhaps that is part of the problem, Jim Waddell has posed a question about enlisting you to be a partner with us in that endeavor. You, the Chronicle, other publications generally don't focus on our activities around public service and engagement in economic and community development and uplift. So how can we engage you and your peers in helping us champion other parts of the university besides research and educational outcomes?
I think that's probably a fair critique. I mean, we I think focus even differently from the Chronicle. We actually pay very little attention to sort of research activity. We focus, I would say, most heavily on sort of on undergraduate on the educational role of institutions, and I think that's a fair critique or a fair point. And we do pay attention to colleges as employers. And I think we do pay attention to their role in their communities, but it's certainly not the majority of our coverage, and I think we could do better. And I guess I very much agree that we have a responsibility to show colleges in all their activities. The thing I want to, and I very much consider us, I won't speak for the Chronicle, but I spent a bunch of time there, and I know they probably do as well, do consider us as partners, but we're we're an unusual kind of partner. We are not of higher education. We are not part of the industry. We believe in it, and I don't think any of us would do our work if we didn't think that colleges and universities were important and that higher education was important. And I like to think that we serve the industry, both by highlighting good things that are going on, but also through a watchdog role. And so we would serve higher education very differently from how one of your associations would, or ACE, or our job is not to promote the industry. Having said that, we very much do believe it's to reflect the industry and to reflect the enterprise in all its ways. And as I said, I believe much of what higher education does is positive. And so to the extent that we certainly can, and are certainly willing to commit myself and our publication to trying to do better. So, we have a very, I guess what I would say, and again, just thinking about sort of what that might look like, I will say right now that if you send me an one of those economic impact studies, it's going to go right into the delete file. I don't honestly put a lot of stock in those. And that's just not, I guess, in terms of, what I'd love to do is sort of, and I'm happy to do this in another setting, but it's just sort of brainstorm about what kinds of stories we would write, and that would be that, what we're looking for are especially now, are stories of institutional change and adaptation and impact. And so, again, having just said something about economic impact, looking for ways in which institutions are moving the needle, especially on the kinds of societal problems that we've just been talking about. I think that's where I think we're probably most likely to pay attention. But it could be everything from an institution working to try and eliminate some of the blight by buying up local properties and putting in faculty housing. We've done stories like that. So anyway, I'd be happy to brainstorm with your executive group or whatever about sort of stories, that the things that would be likely to work as a story for us. and I appreciate the point.
Terrific. And we will take you up on that, Doug.
Okay.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. So we have a question from Jane Tours at University of Nevada, Reno. And she asks, as you suggested, demonstrating workforce evidence is indeed becoming more important to our constituencies. This demands a further breakdown of barriers between our campuses and business and industry. So what observations do you have about breaking those barriers and having a more authentic interaction between our universities, our campuses, and our local businesses?
Yeah, and listen, as is in this, as in many realms, there tends to be a lot of finger pointing. It happens when people are talking about the quality of students, and colleges that point to the K-12 institutions and say, "You're sending us the students you're sending us are getting worse," and the schools say, "We get our teachers from you. You're the problem." It happens on this issue as well, where employers, and there's been this meme, and again, this is one of the memes that I think is least accurate, that colleges have been not turning out workforce ready employees. The reason I think it's an unfair critique is that I think the goalposts have been steadily moving. What the companies want has changed, and they've largely laid their employee development work at the feet of colleges and universities in ways that I think is a change from when I came out of college, and there were a lot more training programs and things like that. So I guess to move beyond the finger pointing, I do believe we are starting to move beyond that finger pointing. And I think that only comes from conversation. The tricky part, and I don't know if you'll have noticed, but I referred to higher education as an ecosystem, not a system. And that's because we don't have a higher education system. It would be a lot easier in certain ways if we did. And if by system, I meant something that operated in unison. And we don't have that. We don't have a government-led system, and nobody wants that. We have a whole lot of largely independent institutions, and obviously there are systems within systems. You got state within that ecosystem. You have state systems, et cetera, like Cal State and the Nevada system that Jane's institution is a part of. But getting unified movement or a systemic movement in a non-system is very difficult. And on the workforce development, particularly, this is almost inevitably a local or regional thing. And it's probably appropriately so, because every region is a little different. And so I think in terms of I do believe we are getting past the idea that that was really live a few years ago, that higher ed just sucks in terms of producing qualified graduates. I really don't think that's not what I'm hearing from employers anymore. I am hearing, we continue to hear questions about agility and things like that. But honestly, I think that and this is not going to be particularly insightful, maybe, Jane, but I think it's about conversation at the local regional level. And I think there are institutions there's a wide gamut of the extent to which institutions are good at that or have a history of that. Almost every institution does that at granular levels, where an engineering program will have an advisory group. But honestly, this is something that really should be cross-disciplinary, and it should be institution-wide, because we know that a lot of what employers want are not specialists, but generalists who are talented and can write and can communicate and can work with in teams and have some global acumen. And so I think that while I think it's important for schools and departments to have their own communications and conversations with employers about what they want, I really think that institution-wide understanding of what a local set or a regional set of employers wants and needs is really where the conversation is going to be most fruitful. So I don't know if that answered, but that's my best shot at it.
It's good, Doug. Thank you very much. So just really building on the notion of preparing folks for the world. We had a question come in from Mar Sukovicki, who asked, do you believe that higher education should play an active role in creating social justice, not just highly skilled employees? And are universities and colleges, are we a driver of social economic justice? What would the future of the world and the US be in competing in the global world? Were those issues being actively pursued on our campuses?
That's a great question, timely as hell. But it was timely before, and most of us are just remembering that or re-remembering that. Listen, when I said before, and I was maybe more oblique about it than I usually am, when I talk about this sort of judgment or defining of what higher education is designed to do, if that's left to, I want to be careful here, if it's left to the government officials who are not that knowledgeable, I mean, there is no way that a God knows Congress or our federal government, but I think it's true at a lot of state levels as well. There is no way that the more the sort of defining of what institutions should be doing is left to those people, the likelier it's going to be narrow and focused on economic outcomes. And while I very much believe that that's an important part of what colleges do, and it's what a lot of students and families want, so we can't ignore it. And it maybe even I don't know, I don't want to put a number on it, a percentage of what it is. It's important, and it should be a part of any menu of things by which higher education would be judged. But if that also doesn't include that people are healthier physically, and that people participate in our electoral system more, or that that they donate to charity more. There's so many things, and I 100% believe that higher education's contributions, either at the institutional level or systemically or ecosystemically, to social and racial justice would be a very logical part of that menu as well. And I think institutions ought to be judged by that, and ought to want to be judged by that, and should absolutely embed it. I mean, the question of how is way beyond my pay grade, but I very much believe that if colleges and universities are not a force for social and racial and socioeconomic equity, if we end up with colleges as workforce development tools, we should all just close. We should pretty much close them down. I mean, as that alone, that will not be a good thing for any of us or for society.
Powerful words, Doug. Powerful words. So we have time maybe for one more question. People can, again, you can add it to the chat. It's interesting, some of the questions would be about universities' ability to model the world that we should be, the employment practices within the university, really taking a look at that. Do you have any comments about that? Just
it's interesting. I mean, listen, I would say if you look at sort of the colleges as employers and as places to work, I think it's a mixed bag. I think we have certainly seen colleges follow the model of a lot of the rest of the society in terms of embracing sort of the gig economy and moving away from, I mean, this is more on the faculty side, but the adjunctification of the faculty, where, it's flipped from 3/4 of instruction being delivered by tenured or tenure track faculty members 25, 30 years ago to almost the reverse, where just 1/4 of it is. It's been an almost inevitable and very slow, gradual change as colleges were thinking, oh, we're squeezed on money. Maybe if we can save some money, we spend on benefits here. I don't think it was an attempt to sort of, but I think it's been ill-advised, and I think it's had negative impacts on colleges' ability to carry out their missions. That's just one example. But I think it's 100% legit to look at colleges as employers. and to try to model. I don't know how that analysis would look right now, but I think it's absolutely a legitimate set of questions to ask. It is, as I said before, it's something we try to look at, and I certainly would encourage all of you within your institutions. I mean, I think there's opportunity for colleges to behave better than corporations in certain ways because they don't have a profit motive, and I think there are a lot of ways in which colleges are very good employers. But the record on given what we were just talking about, the record on racial equity isn't fantastic. Their colleges are still the college administrations are still much whiter than their student bodies on average, and so there's a lot of progress to be made. I think it's an interesting prism and way to think about things, but there's lots of those.
There are, and Doug, because there are so many more topics to talk about, we are unfortunately running out of time, but we really would like to invite you to continue this conversation. I think this is right in keeping with UEDA's mission, and I actually have to say I love that you brought in the notion of the ecosystem. That's how we started our journey, was really thinking through what it is an ecosystem, where the role of the university is within that ecosystem, but it's not to go it alone. It is indeed a partnership that is a more intentional piece. So we are definitely going to invite you back.
Please.
So everyone, keep thinking about what we're talking about, and I just cannot thank you enough. I thought
pleasure to be with all of you, and hopefully my contact information's in that set of slides, which I think you have a copy of, so feel free to share it, and if anybody wants to be in touch with me, happy to engage.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Pleasure. Take care.
Yes, you too. So now it's time to conduct a little bit of association business. So bear with us. We'll try to make this as quick and as interesting as possible, but this is something that our bylaws require. We are going to have an annual business meeting. So with that, I am going to grab my official UEDA gavel, which is floating in and out here. And with this, I'm going to call the meeting to order. So our first order of business is to invite the executive committee to my virtual stage here. So Tim, if you can make that possible, that would be terrific. We now need to approve the the minutes from the business meeting from 2019, the annual meeting that took place in Reno, Nevada. Those minutes were circulated via email on September 28th to all the primary contacts, the voting members, if you will, for each member institution and organization in good standing with UEDA. So I now ask for a motion to accept and approve the minutes from last year's business meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Julia, I would, oh, sorry.
Actually, was that Rebecca?
Well, this is Jenna. I make the motion to approve.
And I will second that motion.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So again, the voting is, we're going to put the thumbs up if you approve, and please type in oppose in the chat if you oppose. So everyone who approved the minutes, please so indicate. Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is the president's report. So that will be me. And as the president, I am very proud to report that in this unparalleled time, UEDA has remained true to its purpose and found creative and innovative ways in which to fortify and inspire university-led economic and community engagement. And that work has indeed supported economic recovery, health and well-being, equity, and social justice. The leadership of UEDA falls to the board of directors. These individuals are all volunteers who are deeply committed to the mission of UEDA. I want to recognize and thank each member of this outstanding board of directors who went well above and beyond the call of service this year. Margot Fliss from the University of Alaska, Julie Golemi from Georgia Institute of Technology, Dominic Hallaby from Georgia Southern University, Matt Hebb from Dalhousie University, Jenna Hurd from the University of Kansas, Meredith Jager from Northeast Wisconsin Technical College, Sean McMillan from the University of Georgia, Russell Mills from Bowling Green University, Beth Phillips from the University of Tennessee, Mary Frances Pustapak from East Stroudsburg University, John Provo from Virginia Tech, Rebecca Robinson from Kansas State University, and Jim Waddell from Jim Waddell and Company. Collectively, these individuals have logged in more than 650 hours of board service, and that doesn't even include the service on standing committees and our ad hoc committees. Well done, everybody, thank you. And also on the board, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I want to acknowledge and express our deep gratitude to the many individuals and members who volunteered their time and their resources to serve on our committees. Thank you very, very much. So this report today covers the period from the conclusion of the 2019 summit to the conclusion of the 2020 summit. The key takeaways and activities are these. This year, the board approved a 2-year renewal of the contract with Trailblaze Creative. This is an extremely important contract because it includes the services of Tim Hines as our executive director. Tim and his team have provided outstanding leadership, management, and creative services to the association for several years. But this year, Tim and his team met the challenges we encountered with impressive energy, impressive problem-solving mindset, and a can-do attitude that served the association well. We also renewed our contract with Castleton Meeting and Events to continue to provide the high-quality summit experience that our attendees enjoy and expect. We selected a new membership management tool, Member 365, that we debuted at our recent summit. The board revised and approved a new board of director position description and established a code of conduct policy and a conflict of interest policy. UEDA publications were completely reimagined. Our new newsletter, Intersection UEDA, made its debut this year. Western Washington University became the first UEDA member institution to achieve the APLU Innovation and Economic Prosperity University designation, or better known as the IEP designation. And that was through the partnership that UEDA has with the APLU to provide a pathway to that designation for universities and colleges that are not APLU members. A new cohort is forming now. The deadline is tomorrow, but if you are interested, please contact Tim Hines, our executive director. And Tim, if you can put your email in the chat. We began planning our 2020 annual summit in Savannah, Georgia. Contracts were signed with the host hotel. The events team were planning the logistics. The summit committee, chaired by Rebecca Robinson, and the Award of Excellence committee, chaired by Margot Fliss, were assembled and they were beginning to meet. Georgia Southern University, our partner university, was doing great work promoting the summit locally. Members of the board met in Savannah in February to attend a board retreat to begin work on association priorities, but also to preview our summit site and to engage local business and public sector partners in a rally to support the summit. And then the world changed. March. I want you to know that UEDA met this new reality with a great sense of purpose, urgency, professionalism, and we saw opportunity. UEDA moved rapidly, and we began to provide valuable information, networking through a series of virtual town halls. In May, the board approved moving the annual summit from the in-person to a virtual one. We secured a commitment from Georgia Southern University to host the 2021 summit in Savannah, Georgia. Our events team successfully renegotiated the contract, and the agreement between UEDA and the events team was modified to reflect this new scope of work. Without missing a beat, we were all now building an immersive, engaging summit. And that summit was successfully produced and held on September 21 through 24. Notably, during this time, we continued our partnership with the Lemelson Foundation, and we were awarded a grant by the foundation on our work to further together build ecosystems across the country that support and nurture invention and entrepreneurial activity, again, in the view of an ecosystem. So with that, I want to report that the association, through its collective action and goodwill, accomplished a great deal during this year. We embedded new approaches to grow membership, sponsorship, partnership, and member value programs going forward. So with that, I conclude the President's report. Our Treasurer's report will provide additional information, but I want to say that it has been my honor. I have a crack up, Jean. It's been my honor to serve as the President. I thank the board. I thank the members. It's been an exceptional year. I wish you all the best. Take care of yourselves. And I sure hope I see you in Savannah in 2021. So with that, I'd like to introduce my dear friend, Jenna Hurd. Jenna is from the University of Kansas and our UEDA treasurer. And Jenna's going to provide the treasurer's report. Jenna, your stewardship of the organization and your deep commitment to its mission have been invaluable. Thank you for your service over so many years. And most of all, thank you for your service during this year. So as Jenna prepares her report and presents her report, and if you have questions for her, again, please use the chat feature. So Jenna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Julia. And I just want to say your leadership, I don't know how we would have done that without you this year. You've been awesome to work with. And so thank you so much. I'm going to keep this fairly brief. This slide shows our income reported in the last 5 years as filed with the Department of the U.S. Treasury. And we filed the 2019 in July 13, 2020. So while the Treasurer's report last year indicated a break-even expectation, we did report a net loss of over $38,000. And this loss can mostly be explained by a major sponsorship and the IEP designation income not materializing until the first quarter of 2020. So that taken into account, it was closer to break even. In 2018, we had a net loss of around not quite $10,000 and a net income of around $12,000. So you can see our financial strength is dependent upon membership, summit registrations, and sponsorship. But it also, the strength of this organization is dependent upon the investments we make as a board on the association, with the money in our accounts. So over the last 2 years, as Julia has already mentioned, we made strategic investments in a rebranding effort, our operation managements with Trailblaze Creative, and our CRM system Member 365. These have resulted in some higher expenses for the association and these net losses that you're seeing in the last few years. However, these investments allowed UEDA to easily pivot to a virtual summit and offer a series of webinars that added value during the pandemic. As mentioned by Julia, we were able to renegotiate the contracts with the hotel in Savannah and with Castleton for event services. While the board adjusted the budget mid-course and passed a balanced budget for 2020, I'm anticipating that we will experience a net loss of around $10,000 in 2020. However, with a diverse and strong membership, a relevant summit, and sponsorships that develop into partnerships, this and also with UEDA's ability to deliver value to its members during the pandemic, this all bodes well for our association in 2021. And that includes my report.
Jenna, thank you very much. So if anybody has any questions, I don't see anything in the chat, but any questions for Jenna about the treasurer's report? Okay, having seen none, it's time now for a motion, please, to approve the treasurer's report as presented. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, John. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. This is Meredith.
Meredith, thank you. All in favor of approving the treasurer's report as presented, please indicate so. Again, a thumbs up for approve. If you oppose, just type it in the chat. All right, I see that the treasurer's report has been approved. Thank you very much, Jenna. Thank you. So next on our agenda is the announcement of the new members of the UEDA Board of Directors. So before I make that announcement, I want to thank Meredith Jager. Meredith has been an amazing member of the UEDA community for many years. Her excellent service includes a lot of time on our executive committee and leadership positions. So let me say Meredith Jager is the Dean of Corporate Training and Economic Development at Northeastern Wisconsin Technical College. But with this year, Meredith is concluding her service as a member of the Board of Directors of UEDA. Meredith was Vice President, she was President-elect, President, and now she is finishing her term as past President. Meredith, you have served this organization exceptionally well. It was my pleasure to work with you, and I learned a lot from you. Thank you very, very much. Next, I want to thank Sean McMillan, the Director of the Office of Economic Development at the University of Georgia, and Beth Phillips, Economic Development Programs Manager at the University of Tennessee Center for Industrial Services. I want to thank both of them for their service on the UEDA board. Exemplary service, thank you both. Sean and Beth have reached the end of their terms and they will be leaving the board as well. So now for the election results, but I want to say that UEDA has made a commitment, and we do affirm that we will grow and diversify our board of directors. It is a strategic plan of the university that we intend to execute upon. Now, normally, election for the new board of directors is done through a combination of electronics votes cast in advance of our summit and votes cast during the summit. But this year, clearly, we had to go to the virtual platform. And again, I want to commend Tim and Trailblaze Creative for finding a really innovative way to handle our voting. So voting opened 30 days ago, and voting members have been casting their ballots during that time. So this year, UEDA benefited from having an exceptionally strong group of candidates running for the board. Each of those individuals who ran have demonstrated their commitment to the mission of UEDA through their previous service on the board, their service on one or more of our committees, their service at their institution or their organizations. So now the results. I hope I don't cry. It is my pleasure to announce the 2021 UEDA Board of Directors. John Provo, Virginia Tech, is our new president. Rebecca Robinson from Kansas State University is our president-elect. Jim Waddell from Jim Waddell and Company is our vice president. Jenna Hurd from the University of Kansas is our treasurer. Russell Mills from Bowling Green State University is our secretary, and I will take my role as the past president. The newly elected members of the UEDA board at large, these are our at-large members, are Margot Fliss from the University of Alaska, Dominic Hallaby from Georgia Southern University, Matt Hebb from Dalhousie University, Eddie Pauline from the Ohio State University, and Lenore Vanderzee from the State University of New York at Canton. Congratulations to you all. These members have been elected by our voting members to serve 2-year terms on the UEDA Board of Directors. With that, I want to ask John Provo to the stage to make an announcement about board appointments. John?
Julia, thank you, and thank you for all you've done for us this year and years past. I enjoyed our first, well, so far it's been my first and only trip to Long Beach, but I look forward to the day when we're all free to move about more and I can rectify that. We do have 2 open slots in our board makeup, and I would like to make a motion to appoint two members to these one-year unexpired terms. One would be Jeff Saxe from the University of Wisconsin at Oshkosh, one of my favorite Wisconsin words to say, as Meredith Jager will remember. The other, Mars Zvecki from Jamelia Associates, and I'd like to place their names in front of a motion in front of the board to appoint them to one-year terms.
Thank you, John. So we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I can second that.
Thank you, Jenna. So again, we're going to vote. All approve of these two appointments, so indicate. Any opposition, so indicate. Okay, the motion has approved. Welcome aboard. We have two more exemplary members of our UEDA Board of Directors. Congratulations, Jeff. Congratulations, Mars. So our board is complete. Congratulations to all. UEDA is in very good hands. So that does conclude our business meeting. So I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion. Rebecca Robinson.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do I hear a second for adjournment? John has second. All approved to adjourn the business meeting, so indicate. Any opposed, so indicate. The motion is approved. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much. Concluded. So with that, I want to congratulate John Provo for taking the reins of the presidency of UEDA. I am passing the virtual gavel to you, John. I know that you're going to be a great leader, and I really look forward to working with you. Congratulations to you, and again, congratulations to all. So now it is my pleasure to invite Margot Fliss to the virtual stage. Margot is the Manager of Strategic Engagement at the University of Alaska Center for Economic Development. Margot chairs the Awards of Excellence Committee, and she's done that for the last 2 years with incredible dynamic leadership. Margot, you really are awesome. Thank you so much for this deep and consistent commitment to the university, yes, to UEDA. So with that, Margot, I'm turning the floor to you to announce the Awards of Excellence winners.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you so much for your service. I think this was really an unprecedented year. I'm sure we're all tired of hearing that word unprecedented, but you led us with such grace and hope. I feel that I'm just so proud of the way that the summit turned out, and I'm really excited now to go to announce the Awards of Excellence winners. So hello again and welcome to the 2020 UEDA Awards of Excellence ceremony. On behalf of the UEDA Board of Directors and staff, we truly hope that you were inspired by these innovative UEDA sessions featured throughout this year's digital summit. I know I was. It's always a hard choice when you have to go to one versus the other and you can't see them all, but just fantastic presentations. So today is a really special day. Among all of the best practices in university-based economic development, this is our time to recognize the best of the best, which was of course determined by all of you, our peers. The finalists presented their initiatives last week at our summit. The attendees all voted on their favorites, and we will announce those category winners in just a few minutes. So first, a few important updates from our organization. UEDA, just like any organization, survives because of its volunteers. Therefore, I would like to encourage all of you to join a UEDA committee. Julia spoke a little bit about this, but the Awards of Excellence Committee is obviously the one that I chair, and I would highly encourage anybody interested to know more about the awards process, apply to that committee. There are a number of other committees as well, such as Summit Planning Committee, many that we encourage you all to check out. Those participants on committees network with each other year-round to further develop our organization and our sector of economic development. If you or someone you know is interested in joining a UEDA committee, please contact our Executive Director, Tim Hines. Second, I'd like to remind everyone that we are planning an in-person summit for next year, and that's going to be in Savannah, Georgia. Our hosts at Georgia Southern University have been really wonderful in helping us make a pivot and we'll be expecting a terrific event and really excited to be there in 2021. So mark your calendars for September 19th through 22nd, 2021, and tell all your friends. I know I'm so excited to go back once it's safe to travel again. Real excited to be in Savannah for 2021. So it's now time to turn our attention to the awards presentations part of the program. Throughout the past several months, our awards committee has been working very diligently to solicit solid and innovative proposals that represent the best in leading university engaged economic development initiatives across North America. Last week at the Digital Summit, we reviewed the finalists, and then all of you, our peers, cast votes for the winning presentations. Our awards process would not be possible without the leadership of some amazing individuals from across the country. Our Awards of Excellence Committee, it's a really fun committee to be on, but it's a lot of work, right? You are looking through awards presentations from across North America and trying to find the best of the best. But they not only did that, they helped us transition to a fully virtual summit. So I cannot thank the awards committee enough, just fantastic work. These folks tirelessly reviewed a tremendous number of applications we diligently scrutinized, discussed, and debated each nomination with impartial eyes and open minds. So thank you for all your hard work over the past year. I cannot express the value of each of our committee members received from reviewing the nominations from across North America. Many of us have taken ideas from the applications we've read and implemented them at our own institutions. I've said this once and I'll say it many more times. I currently run an intern program and an accelerator program, and I have worked extensively with past awards winners to go to them and say, help me, I'm starting this up or I'm continuing on, let's collaborate and thought partner on this. It's absolutely invaluable to have colleagues that are willing to do that with me. I urge all of you to consider joining a committee. The awards committee would be great. Obviously I'm gonna make a pitch for that, but we have a number of other committees as I just mentioned. This has become an internationally recognized initiative and it's UEDA's cornerstone program. So now I wanna talk a little bit about our format and how it's all gonna go today. I will announce each category and read the name of the Awards of Excellence finalist, and we will spotlight a representative from each initiative. So I'm going to read the category and read each of the finalists, and there will be a quick spotlight on the representative from that particular initiative. I will then announce the category winner as based on your votes. Each category winner will then be given the floor for some very brief remarks, and we always thank you for keeping your remarks brief. Let me add, in several cases, the voting was extremely close, which not only makes each vote really important, but shows the high caliber of initiatives selected as this year's finalists. It may be cliche to say it, but all of our finalists are truly considered winners by our organization. We have all gained valuable insight into best practices that are truly make a difference in your region and hopefully in our regions as well. And we've learned a lot from your successes. So thank you so much for sharing all of your stories with us. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So our first Awards of Excellence category is innovation. Innovation begins with basic research, but then builds on knowledge creation to encompass knowledge transfer and application in ways that are useful and relevant to society. This category encompasses basic research, applied, translational, problem-oriented, and industry-contracted R&D. Cooperative extension services, and technology transfer. The finalists in the innovation category are Jackson State University, JSU Center for Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development, Indiana University Bloomington, Building the Indiana Uplands Regional Defense Cluster, and University of South Carolina, USC Center of Applied Innovation, Advanced Analytics, and Digital Transformation. Okay, and I did actually have really cool little envelopes. I apologize, sorry, with my fake green screen, you can't really see this, but I do have envelopes to open up for the winners. So the winner of the innovation category is the JSU Center for Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development. We're giving them a lovely round of applause. The Center for Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development was developed to help foster innovation and entrepreneurship at Jackson State University, a historically Black college and university located in Jackson, Mississippi. The center is unique as it serves multiple purposes, including a culture of innovation among faculty, staff, and students, changing the entrepreneurial mindset of underrepresented minorities, providing a space with resources to help infuse technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship in the student learning and faculty delivery of courses, and fostering collaboration between industry and university. Congratulations, Jackson State University, and I'm going to allow you to say a few words really quickly.
On behalf of our president, faculty, staff, and students, particularly the students, innovation fellows in the Center for Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development, thank you so much for your vote. I truly enjoy this summit, and I'll make sure that Jackson State becomes a member immediately. Thank you all so much, much appreciated.
Congratulations, thank you so much. Okay, so now we are moving on to our second category. The next category is talent. Talent includes the spectrum of knowledge transfer activities by which universities educate people, develop human capital for the 21st century knowledge economy. This category includes lifelong learning, both degree and non-degree programs, experiential learning, education, and discovery-based learning programs, active alignment of curricula to meet industry needs. The finalists in the talent category are Indiana University East, the BOSS program, Business Opportunity for Self-Starters, Northeast Wisconsin Technical College, Learning for Independence for CISA 7, Seton Hall University Market Research Center, Seton Hall University, Indiana University East CEOs, Cash Equals Opportunity. And the winner, sorry, having some envelope problems here, of the talent category is Indiana University East BOSS program. How do you get high school students to want to study business and economics? Have them become a boss. The BOSS program is a 54-hour curriculum to teach high school students how to create a business plan. As students create their individual plans, they are inspired and encouraged to research a variety of areas of business, such as possible locations, pricing of advertising, promotion, and so on. Students are introduced to community leaders, and they end up getting to promote their idea via a Shark Tank, type presentation. I apologize, I lost where I was at there. The BOSS program is administered through the Center for Entrepreneurship. Congratulations, BOSS program. We're gonna go ahead and give you a few minutes to make some quick remarks.
Hi, I'm Cole Fosbrink. I have to accept for Tim. He is teaching a class right now, but he enjoys this opportunity and he loves doing it, and he wants to thank you all for voting and for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. And obviously he's a very active teaching, which is fantastic. And we apologize that we're sorry to miss him. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to the next category. Our next category is talent plus place. Projects and initiatives that synergistically connect talent and place in ways that enrich discourse, promote civic participation, and otherwise enhance quality of place. Just a few examples include K-12 school improvement partnerships, local government training institutes, and higher education involvement in regional government, economic development organizations, and community and wellness projects/initiatives. So the finalists in the Talent Plus Place category are, excuse me, Northeast Wisconsin Technical College, the Industrial Maintenance Certificate for the Wisconsin Department of Corrections, Indiana University East, the In Your Business television program, and California State University Northridge and Marilyn Magrum Center for Food Science, Nutrition, and Dietetics. I apologize, I think I said that incorrectly, but the CSUN Pathways to Success program. And the winner for the Talent Plus Place category is Cal State Northridge and Maryland Megrum Center for Food Science, Nutrition, and Dietetics, the CSUN Pathways to Success program. Congratulations. The CSUN Pathway program supports undergraduate and graduate students from underrepresented groups to prepare them for food and agricultural careers by implementing a structured student outreach program and providing integrated multiple student support services. The program is a collaborative effort between the CSUN Maryland Megrum Center for Food Science, Nutrition, and Dietetics, Los Angeles Mission Community College, local high schools, and several USDA agencies, including the California Women, Infants, and Children Supplemental Nutrition Program. Pathways to Success is an undergraduate and graduate fellowship program, which has provided scholarship, proactive advisement and tutoring support, paid research assistance, and peer and faculty mentoring, as well as a variety of professional development and training opportunities. Congratulations, CSUN. We will now give you a few moments to have some quick remarks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, UEDA, for this honor and the recognition of our Pathways to Success program to develop registered dietitians. Congratulations to all other nominees and award winners today. Our ultimate goal is to increase diversity of our underrepresented students in the field and within the workforce, of course, help to serve the needs of our community. So we are so thankful to our amazing community partners and collaborators. We just couldn't have done it without you. And again, thank you so much for this honor.
Congratulations, CSUN. And I apologize if I mispronounced that name, but congratulations, CSUN. Well done. All right, our next category is place. Place is defined as the many and diverse ways in which institutions contribute to making attractive, competitive communities. Places where people really want to live, create and take jobs, raise their families, participate in civic life, age, and retire. Competitive, successful communities and regions are attentive to the health, education, environment, housing, safety, and entertainment needs of community members. Campuses and sites like research parks are components of placemaking, but the focus of this definition is broader on communities or even on regions. The finalists in the place category are Virginia Tech Vibrant Virginia Program, the University of Texas at Dallas, the UT Dallas Campus Landscape Enhancement Project, University of Kentucky Southeast Kentucky Downtown Revitalization Project. And the winner for the place category is University of Kentucky Southeast Kentucky Downtown Revitalization Project. The Southeast Kentucky Downtown Revitalization Project is a strategic partnership to revitalize Eastern Kentucky's downtowns, support entrepreneurial ecosystems, and begin readying our communities for new investment. Stakeholder teams representing each community have access to CIDAK's suite of services and technical assistance to support the creation of downtown leaders and attract new private investment. The goal of this project is to build capacity in our downtowns to attract private investment for revitalization projects that present a number of different entrepreneurial opportunities, including improved infrastructure in the built environment, start and grow small businesses, retain and attract families, draw in visitors for extended stays across the region, and attract additional private investment. Congratulations, University of Kentucky Downtown Revitalization Project. You may now say a few words.
I now know what it's like to be like on the Oscars where I'm like, oh my God. I didn't have any prepared remarks because I really didn't think we were going to win. But thank you all. This has been a great opportunity. I was on vacation last week doing this presentation, so it was, it makes it even more special. But most importantly, thank you to the team that I have at SEDEC that is just the most creative and inspirational group, and the communities that were willing to take some risks along the way, and happy to know that that work continues. So thank you all so much. I really enjoyed this opportunity.
Congratulations. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have little Oscar statues, or I think for the Emmy, somebody stood outside the window and either gave you something or walked it away. But there will be some follow-up on all that for all the finalists a little bit later. But congratulations, University of Kentucky. All right. Our final category is Place plus Innovation. Projects and initiatives that synergistically connect innovation and place to create physical places that attract and build concentrations of talent and innovators, knowledge communities. This can be construed as either both a specific site, such as a university research and technology park, incubator, accelerator, etc., or a larger community area or region, such as an innovation district. The finalists in the Place plus Innovation category are the University of Hawaii Pacific Business Center program, the Sustainable Ocean Systems project, and the University of Kentucky, the Food Connection at the University of Kentucky. And the winner for the Place plus Innovation category is University of Kentucky, the Food Connection at the University of Kentucky. Congratulations. Born out of a trailblazing dining contract, the Food Connection at the University of Kentucky is a first of its kind local food systems initiative that bridges the public and private dimensions of UK's dining partnership. UKFC works with our dining partner to create initiatives that extend the positive economic impact of our dining contract beyond the boundaries of our campus, bringing the heart of the land grant mission to campus operations. A combined approach of clear goals and metrics, targeted research and programming, a focus on replicable local food models, and an innovative suite of strategic partnerships has made UKFC a national model for successful farm-to-campus initiatives. UKFC grounds our work in a deep engagement with Kentucky's local food community, while also integrating the specific perspective and opportunities afforded by institutional dining. By aiming for a specific goal and rallying our partners toward achieving it, UKFC has effected lasting change in Kentucky's local food economy. Congratulations, University of Kentucky. You may say a few words now.
If you're not careful, I might just break into a Wildcats chant because I'm just so excited. Thank you all so much. It's an incredible honor. I did prepare remarks because I'm nervous. Thanks to the UEDA conference organizers and the whole UEDA community for this honor and for this Awards of Excellence for shining a light on how public institutions serve as stewards for the public good. To that end, I want to, I was also wanting to comment, Toby Smith's comments on his keynote about the need for a land grant mission for the 21st century is exactly what I believe the Food Connection and these sorts of programs do. So my wholehearted, boundless thanks to my Food Connection family. I could not have a better team of folks to work with. My board of directors, including Melody Flowers, who was supposed to be here with you, but she had to jump off the call, the University of Kentucky leadership, and the extended food, farm, and eating community for what we've built and continue to build together. We go far because we go together. So thank you all so much. This is an incredible honor. Go Cats.
Yeah, congratulations. I know that I thought when I read that little remark, I thought that ties in beautifully to the keynote we just had earlier today. So we are not quite done yet. We have one more. Several years ago, we instituted a Judges Award, which is awarded to an Awards of Excellence finalist at the judge's discretion. The judges convened following the Awards of Excellence balloting, reviewed the results, and chose to recognize one of the finalists whom we deemed is worthy of special recognition. So the reason that we chose our Judges Award this year was we found that this presentation was fantastic and that it really was a replicable program that many of us took a lot away from the presentation. We're excited to connect with this particular project and institution, and they really emphasized talent, place, and innovation and how those all came together through this particular program and also the presentation that they gave. So without further ado, the Judges Award for this year is awarded to Seton Hall University Market Research Center. Congratulations. The Market Research Center at Seton Hall University is an innovative program that pairs student teams with organizations to address real-world business challenges. Projects take the form of a semester-long research initiative. Student teams work with businesses, organizations, and nonprofits who need help with specific challenges. Students collaborate with their business partners to identify a specific business issue. They align on a plan to collect and analyze data, and then conduct both quantitative and qualitative market research. In addition, each semester typically includes several projects with nonprofit organizations. So the projects are really a win-win. The students get a lot out of it, and the organizations they're working with get a lot out of it. Students get hands-on experience with a real-world challenge and client. Congratulations, Seton Hall University. We chose you for the Judges Award because we were really blown away by your presentation and the fantastic amount of work you have been doing at your Market Research Center. So I want to turn things over to you now to say a few quick remarks.
Wow. No, what an honor, and so thankful to UEDA, and just on behalf of the Market Research Center and our advisory board, the Stillman School of Business, Seton Hall. I want to say, you know, like Quincy Jones and the Academy and all those people everyone typically says is, you know, what a wonderful honor. And we thank you. And, you know, Margot, you just said it. We really feel like our projects are truly win-win, and that they're great for students, they're great for businesses, and they're great for the communities that we're in. So again, what an honor, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Adam. So with that, sorry, excuse me, congratulations to all of our awards winners. Truly, this is an exciting showcase of the best programs and initiatives in higher education, economic development from across North America. You have all really done amazing work. So it's not too early to begin thinking about submitting for next year's Awards of Excellence. We launch our applications in early spring, so be on the lookout for an announcement on that. And please encourage your colleagues and other institutions to participate. As our past awardees and finalists will tell you, receiving this recognition from UEDA has validated their work and at times led to additional support, funding, and resources that might not have otherwise been provided. And as a quick anecdote, I was an Awards of Excellence winner. Our program was many years ago, a couple of years ago now, and the university really sat up and listened and was like, wow, this is fantastic work. We didn't really even fully know what's going on. So I can really say that it does provide a lot of validation and recognition of the fantastic work you've already been doing. And that's always a great feeling, but also can often lead to additional funding or partnerships, which is fantastic for the sustainability of the program. So really think about what you would like to submit next year, or if you know of a great program, you should encourage them to submit as well. We want to have a robust slate of programs to highlight our sector, and we are all really doing amazing work, and we really need to showcase that. I think that's an important part of changing the narrative around the value universities and colleges bring to our communities and to our regions. So sorry, excuse me. And with that, we will close this session for today. Special thanks to Doug Lederman for kicking off our rally day. Extra special thanks to Julia Potter for her leadership as our president over the past year. I can't emphasize this enough. Julia, you helped us transition through what has been an incredibly interesting past couple of months. And we had a very, very successful summit. Thank you so much for your leadership with that. Despite the challenges faced by our global pandemic, Julia really led our organization with passion, conviction, and a real willingness to innovate, right? I feel like we led a lot here. We led by example in some ways of we need to try out new ways to connect with all of our fabulous UEDA members. So thank you for your continued service and dedication to UEDA. I want to congratulate all of the finalists again, a last time. We do like to say, it does sound cliche, everybody is a winner. We also will be following up with the finalists, as many of them we hope to have spotlighted in our newsletter, our UEDA newsletter that comes out throughout the year, as well as potentially having some webinars to continue to highlight the great work that they're doing. With that, please enjoy the rest of your day, stay safe, and I hope to see all of you in Savannah September 2021. Thank you so much.